Um, Welcome back to Inklings Behind the Scenes. This is J.S. Bray with Mr. Bray Labs, and today I have the wonderful head writer of the show, Cody Lawhorn. You want to say hello, Cody?
Hello, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. How's it in Alaska?
Oh, it's doing really well, It's the end of summer and fall is rapidly approaching. The leaves, if the leaves as soon as the leaves see the snow on the mountains, they'll turn pretty quick
Okay.
and probably start falling within the next week or so.
My goodness, it's still in like triple digits heat down here in Nashville, which is just crazy. Um, Anyways, I know that we are all on borrowed time with everything that goes on, but and I do thank you so much for taking the time for us to have to be on this synchronous recorded line. Um,
Let
let's
me thank
Yeah.
let me thank you because I've been wanting us to have an episode where we kind of catch up on the writing thus far and gather your thoughts, and that will help me navigate where I'm going from here. So thank you.
Ex- Well, excellent. I was thinking what we could do is just sort of like step back a little bit and do a kind of cursory overview of season zero. And so I'll give my feedback, you give your thoughts, really kind of keep it sort of short and sweet.
Yeah.
And, just kind of let people see a bit of the process. I love what you're doing. I mean, we've talked about this a great deal, and it's part of that. It's a bit of a weird thing, but it's part of the process. Sometimes you change the outcome by measuring it. It's a principle in quantum mechanics, but I think it's the same thing with productions like this. We have been producing this, and I've never seen anyone kind of take painstakingly efforts to slow down and show how it's being done like this. And I think because of that, sometimes it creates new opportunities or hiccups. Like today, technology was not working. So, yeah. So, anyways, so yeah, I really love the process, and I had some like cursory thoughts, but I actually wanted to know if you had what is your roadmap, just 10,000 foot view for the episodes. How many episodes are you for sure think we're going to do for season zero?
I want to say definitely six.
Okay.
Depending on timing of finishing uh A Perfect Hat for Poe right after Cowboy Dinosaur, working with Matt on the score, the song for Perfect Hat for Poe. I'm hoping to write that in tandem, or I'm sorry, in simultaneously with other episodes, because crafting the song and the lyrics, I my plan is to write the lyrics, and hopefully he can make a song to match it. I don't know. I'm definitely gonna be consulting with Matt and getting his input and going from there.
Sure.
I've created a small list of hats. I've got some lyrics, some rhymes, but we'll go from there. But I hope six. It depends on how many walls of writer's block I encounter along the way.
Oh well, I think six is healthy. I mean, have the first one, which is going to be, we have first one is Cowboy and Dinosaur. Second one is going to be Perfect Apropos, and now we got to fill in the last little four. And I was actually let's kind of map this out, like because my goal is we're introducing the characters. They're short episodes. They're super short episodes, really. And at the end result is they are coming to the library, which is the pilot episode. And so the pilot episode, for those folks who have paid attention, extra stars for you, but it actually begins with Bronte coming to the library. So she is really the last addition to the library, the worm. And so it starts with Bronte, like the pilot episode starts with Bronte with there's a stormy night and her home is filling up and it's getting wet. And so she retreats into the library. So while there is a great opportunity to have Bronte, maybe a little flavor, but that's really where that kind of all this sort of comes together on the pilot episode is Bronte moves into the library. Now, Um,
Excellent. And we foreshadow that in
yes,
the first episode of Cowboy Dinosaur when Poe looks outside and sees someone tracked in water up the steps of
yes,
outside the library. So maybe there's an awning covering the steps or
yes.
something. Who knows? We'll figure that out later.
Well,
um,
it's
Obviously,
cartoon time, right? So it
yep,
really can be, yeah, that's awesome.
yep. And so my idea, my thought is that every episode, um, Poe, there's an inconvenience to Poe. Someone
Mm.
has done something in every episode that inconveniences Poe and his life and his way of life. And
Oh,
I think what I'm going to do is every single person, um, or everything that goes wrong in Poe's eyes is going to be the result of each bug as they show up.
I love
Um,
it. Love it. It's
and
yeah, it's very, very symbolic. Fantastic.
yeah, so I see, Poe slipping on the steps down in the lobby after he's retrieved his hat. Well, let me back up further. Um, with Cowboy Dinosaur, I kind of don't want to resolve that. I kind of want to have the power go out. Um, Poe wants to find out what they're eating, uh, what they decide to make. I want him to find his book, but then I want the pages to be ripped out.
Ooh, I love it. I
And
love it.
and so that's what cues him to go out and either get another copy of the. I think he needs to go out and get another copy of the book. So
Excellent.
that's when he finds the perfect hat for Poe, and I see everything coming together. Um, Poe getting his hat, Poe slipping on the steps, maybe one or two other inconveniences, and then everything coming together with Kafka entering, maybe knocking down Poe or causing Poe to slip on the steps, and then the first thing that Kafka says to Poe is spaghetti, because
Oh, that's great.
maybe he spoils it, and or maybe the power of the TV comes back on, and you see Cowboy Dinosaur and Kafka at the same time say spaghetti. I don't know.
Oh, I like that. I like that. And, just so like we're doing big brushstrokes because that gives you stuff to percolate into your mind as we bounce it back and forth with this creative process. I love the idea of us mapping out the woes of Poe. And I like to think so we're gonna do six episodes. It really should be the six woes of Poe. That would be like the overarching theme. And within each little micro episode, we have a little vignettes from the cowboy dinosaur to him finding his perfect cat to all the different journeys until it gets to the pilot episode. Because Poe, oddly enough, is the last character to show up in the pilot, but which is really great. And for those who are somewhat going to be Inklings scholars someday, they'll go, oh yeah, that's right. So this pre episode, so basically the whole preseason or the season zero is going to be an opportunity for really to kind of put a big bright light on one of the most interesting and I'd say multi-layered characters, sort of the anti-hero storyteller. And that's what I really, really like. So we could just map this out. Like, what are these six woes of Poe? What are the six things that irritate Poe? Indecision, right? Um, Cliffhangers,
Yep, yep.
right? Yes,
People, or the other bugs that, um, you know, disrupt his environment and his way of life. Water on the steps,
oh,
um, spoiling his favorite book.
yes.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe there's a hole in one of his hats. I don't know.
I think that's such a great well to mine is, and perhaps this is where we can maybe put a pinch off to where we go from the next stage. But I think right now would be a great time to brainstorm the things that irritate you. To kind of give what are your pet peeves and how we're using pet peeves, because really that's what we're manifesting in a character like Poe. What are the
Yeah.
things that irritate you? Like I hate indecision. Like I am, there is no grace in me. My son will start, can't make up his mind. I'm like, make up your mind. Pick one. It doesn't matter, honey. At the end of the day, you're going to have one or you're not. And so that drives me nuts. So what I
Mm.
love about Perfect Apropos is I hate indecision. It's one of the most psychologically irritating things that I have in my life. What about you? What's something you really can't stand?
I'm honestly, I'm kind of a neat freak.
All right.
I need to admit it, and I need to own it. Um,
All right.
you know, I have a friend who, whenever he comes over to my house, he's got these fancy boots, these fancy shoes that he has to lace up the entire time. I'm lazy. I've got lots of pairs of slip-on shoes. Well, he's got these fancy boots that he has to lace up. And yes, they're nice, they're classic, kind of novelty a little bit, but the thing that bugs me is that once he's got them on, he's kind of lazy to take them off. So he tracks mud throughout my living room here and
Oh,
there, and dirt a little
oh.
bit. And it's not that bad. It's not like he goes to a ranch and comes back with, thick mud or anything like that. Um, but yeah, when people track dirt in my space. Uh, yeah, that's one of my pet peeves.
See, that's a perfect way. Like we take something very real, right? Being a neat, actually being a neat freak is one thing, but you're also like you're triggered in that sense by someone who is a messy boo. Like this person is careless with their crummy boots all throughout your house. I mean, that's something, this is probably where you and my wife would get along. She can't stand it. She is convinced that whenever my son and I walk in the house, it's just a trail and we're like Pigpen from Peanuts, from Charlie Brown. And so that's what she's convinced. I'm not messy like that. At least I don't think I am, but there's just a trail of us coming in from outside, no matter what we're doing. And it just drives her bonkers. Um, so that's
So,
great. Go ahead.
okay, so another pet peeve I have, I know how you said, uh, making a decision.
Mhm.
I kind of piggybacking on that one, but slightly different is, people who are not indecisive, but they're unable to commit to something.
Mm,
Um, I have another friend
non-committal.
who, yeah, non-committal, or he'll commit to something. He'll be like, yeah, let's do it. And then later he'll cancel because in the moment when I ask him, he, uh,
Are you talking
he,
about me?
no, I'm not, believe it or not. It's another friend up here.
Oh.
One of my workout buddies. He, in the moment when I ask him, hey, do you want to go, to this concert, or do you want to go hit the gym at this time? He'll be like, yeah, let's go do it. And then he'll have to change his mind later, or he'll bag out and cancel on me, later, that if I hit him up Friday afternoon or Friday morning, later on Friday night, like closer to an hour or two before plans happen, he'll cancel. And
Mm,
so that, um, kind of in the moment people pleasing, maybe,
yeah, yeah.
um, and then just to kind of, get the yes and to not disappoint anyone and then to backtrack later, that also kind of, I almost dislike that more than indecision.
That makes sense. I mean, in the sense of when we're talking about pet peeves as an inspiration for a character that's very real.
Yeah.
But I like that's something I kind of I feel like percolating. I love the idea of basically taking every episode and centering it on something that irritates a character. And this being Poe, but this is you know honestly, I was actually thinking the other thing that drives me nuts about that non-committal aspect that you're mentioning. Um, I think I think the hard part for that people pleasing, where people want to just say everything, like they always want to say something nice. They have the short-sightedness to see that disappointing someone in the long run is far more like straining on your relationship than them hearing what they want to hear at that time. And so I think it probably takes, it's like it almost takes somebody saying, "Hey, if you would have just said the truth, or if you would have said sorry, or if you would have said, see, this is a behavior you need to work on," then they wouldn't have this sort of like flakiness. And I want to say it's a generational thing, but I've noticed there's a certain group of people that just love to sort of agree and then not follow through. I I'm there with you on the non-committalness. The one thing that really drives me bonkers is when when people of position of like, I'd say like leadership, or they're in like they're professional, like a professional point, and then they're late. I really can't stand it when someone's professional, like they're, whatever they are. I mean, I've had it from
Oh,
interns to investors. Being late is like morally irreprehensible.
yeah,
Like,
tardiness.
just
Yep.
tardiness. Oh
And then
goodness.
another one is um, not owning things, not taking responsibility. For me, that's a big one. I had an elementary school teacher who I had her for 2 years in a row as an elementary school teacher, and I'm sure she taught me a lot of great things. The one thing that really stuck was taking responsibility for your actions, and um, I think that's actually a deeper one for me. I think, yeah, I really get triggered when people don't take ownership and responsibility for their actions.
Because I'm very gracious. When things come up, family comes up, when people have to reschedule, I'm very gracious. I think there are sometimes people, they use kind of flimsy excuses to get out of something they didn't really want to do in the first place. But when it comes to a professional setting, um, and this is sort of like, when it comes to a professional setting, you need to have some sort of rigid, like this is going to happen. But when you are late and non-apologetic, oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how many people I had met with over the years that'll just not show up or be late or whatever, and it's not apologetic. It's not there's not even a whiff of decency that they wasted your time. So yeah, it does bother me. So yes, yeah. Um, well, okay, those are some great pet peeves. Let's think of one more pet peeve, and then we'll call this a nice little check-in, and then that'll give me time to animate this and present this to everyone on Friday. So
I can't think of any others right now.
okay,
How
okay.
are you feeling overall as to
I'm loving what you're
how the writing is going?
Loving it. I absolutely love it. I love seeing the wheels turn. It really inspires me because as an animator, and yeah, like we're best buds. We've known each other for so long, but we're not right in the same room with each other, and so I can't always see your process. And when I see your process, it's oddly enough just having you present in the room, even your voice gives me ideas, and so that's because I really think that we have that creative flow.
And I
Because I'm
feel
like,
the same.
yeah.
I do
It,
feel the same.
it's a catalyst, and that's where, yeah, as creatives we need each other, and people are going to peek back into the way that we work. So I love what you're doing. I would say keep on it, keep it up. I really appreciate it. I love it,
Now,
and I love that we're sharing it. So
now, sometimes I get balled up in page counts and page numbers because Cowboy Dinosaur, because I want it to be unresolved, because I don't want to. It is a micro short. We don't have to solve every story. Not every story or ending has to have a nice, neat bow on it. I do think that some should. I think that when we get into writing the actual full length episodes, yes, I'm going to uh, try to make every story nice and neat and tidy. But because these are micro shorts and because these are just meant to hook people, I I'm barely sitting at 3 pages with Cowboy Dinosaur, and that you average about 1 minute of screen time per page, right? And
yes,
so and that plays out differently. That's just a general rule of thumb. You can write 3 to 4 lines of text of action, and that could be longer than those 3 minutes. It's again, it's just a general rule of thumb. Um, Are you okay with Cowboy Dinosaur being really short, like 2 to 3 minutes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
I'm okay with all of them being
Okay.
under 90 seconds. They're just to get people hooked, and that's really the whole purpose of a season zero. And because they're not supposed to be a full episode. They're just supposed to give you the flavor of what's happening. And for those who are paying attention, so I'll leave it with this last little thing because it does not necessarily relate to our show, but it relates to something I really, really enjoyed. So probably 15 years ago, maybe longer, I don't remember. Actually, maybe even way longer than that. But there used to be these Clone Wars, these 2D animated Clone Wars. Did you ever watch those series? Like
I
they're
did
supposed
not
to be
watch the 2D. I saw the 3D version.
okay, so and this is going to offend some people, but when I thought Star Wars was amazing, because it's definitely kind of not the same anymore. But when Star Wars was doing out those prequels, and there was this time when they did these 2D animated like shorts, like in between episodes, like with General Grievous, and there were storylines in there that were probably only found on that show or in like comic books. And they were so good, but they're really short, and they left you wanting more. And I mean, like almost like the whole purpose of it was just to get you to salivate and just to get you to be hungry. And that's what I loved about those little Clone War 2D animated shorts. Um, I felt like it did that for me. It made me excited for the upcoming Star Wars film, you know, the live action. And so that's sort of my view of this. Season zero is just, it's almost that French word for a amuse bouche. So it's not even tapas. It's not even like a little micro appetizer. It's just to get your mouth like excited. That's why I'm okay with them being 90 seconds long. They still get people engaged in the story. So
Excellent, excellent. Okay, well, thank you very much for making the time to meet with me. I really appreciate it. I know you are very, very busy with all the other aspects of the show, taking meetings, trying to find investors and other executives to help finance and back this show as we um, press
yeah,
on to getting it produced. And so, you know, like you mentioned in your last episode, there's a lot of things behind the scenes that, you know, we're trying to show people the most that we can, but there's a lot of stuff that they kind of mundane stuff that they don't see. Um,
yeah,
and that is making tons of phone calls, and that is, you know, taking meetings with executives, and some of that you do have to kind of keep close to your chest and kind of honor their discretion and tell the ink is dry on things, and then and obviously you know, not only on contracts but also uh, on checks.
yes,
So
that's very true. Thank you for acknowledging that. I mean, I know that you and I understand it, but letting people know that why things might be not at the speed that they'd like to see, um, you know, because
it,
I would hate for us. Yeah, go ahead.
and that's definitely been my challenge writing this, is that you've been so busy, you've been working your butt off, and
Thank you.
I see that, and I appreciate it. Um, also, I do miss our work sessions. I do feel like, you know, the creativity is just, it's palpable, and
Yes.
it's robust. It's really strong when you and I have these work sessions. As much as I miss the frequency of them, I have a greater appreciation for the other things you are doing, uh, the other, you know, the more executive things you have been doing behind the scenes while I have been writing. So,
Well, I appreciate
again,
that.
thank you so much for taking the time to kind of help dislodge this writer's block have been struggling with, and
Yeah, no trouble.
we will power through, and we will
Yeah.
continue up the mountain.
Yes. Well, thank you so much again for being on, Cody. I hope you all have a blessed day, and we'll see you all soon.